Are you working hard but struggling to grow on social media? This was me 5 years ago, and I never would have gained over 200,000 followers if I hadn't realized this one mistake. So in this video, I'm going to share what held me back so you can explode your following even faster than I did. But first, what was I doing 5 years ago? Well, if we go back to 2020, I was a freshman in college that was determined to make money online. I had started a few Instagram pages and grown them to a few thousand followers each, but I didn't really see them scaling very far past that, so I started looking for other ideas and came across blogging. Excited at this new opportunity, I bought a domain, built a website, and started a weekly sports blog. The new project was exciting initially. However, the months went by and I had only made about $15. So I decided it was time to look for something else. After more research, I discovered dropshipping. Yes, I thought, this is the way I'm gonna make a bunch of money and never have to work again. So I excitedly got to work on setting up my new store and sold a few products, but eventually I ran into some problems and eBay suspended my account. Then it was flipping sports cards, YouTube, and eventually back to Instagram to try running sports fan pages again. Are you seeing a pattern here? I had caught an extreme case of shiny object syndrome. Shiny object syndrome is when you keep jumping from idea to idea, hoping that one will work. But the problem is, by constantly abandoning your previous idea, you're actually restarting your progress every time. Growing social media pages was something I loved and was good at, so why did I now find myself chasing after the next big thing? Well, there's a great analogy from Alex Hormozi that explains why this happens.
Many people have seen The Matrix. If you haven't seen The Matrix, you don't need to have seen it to understand the analogy. So Neo is going through the training program, the protagonist. Morpheus is his educator, his teacher. And the education program only has one objective. And so he's walking through the city. People are going left and right. He's bumping into people going through like crowded New York. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of a black and white, palish look. It's green, black and white, but it's still black and white. And then all of a sudden, this woman in a red dress enters the frame. And you can't help but stare at this woman in the red dress. And she's a complete knockout. And Morpheus is talking to Neo, trying to teach him something. And as he's talking, he's like, Neo, were you looking at me or you're looking at the woman in the red dress? And he says, look again. And he looks back and it's Agent Smith holding a gun to his head. And he says, freeze. And then everything freezes in the frame. And he's like, if you're not one of us, you're one of them. And I see that as the opportunities that we have to say no to every day. Is like another woman in the red dress, and it's become a term that we use internally, right? It's like, it's a woman in the red dress. And the thing is that the more successful you become, or the more able you become, the hotter the woman in the red dress is.
The woman in the red dress shows up when you realize there are problems you aren't equipped to solve. So you start looking for other opportunities that seem better, but the reality is you're gonna run into problems no matter what you do. The reason I abandoned what I was good at and chased after something new is because I was impatient. But the irony of that is I actually made things take longer by doing so. So how do we overcome this? Well, there are 3 rules that help me resist chasing after shiny objects. One of the reasons I kept starting new projects is I would come across a new idea on YouTube and then binge that person's entire channel. I would see how they became successful, feel bad about my progress, and decide to try what they were doing. I still remember when I first discovered dropshipping and spent an entire weekend watching YouTube videos, building my first store, and then waiting for the sales to roll in. I actually did get a bunch of sales, but just as Alex said would happen, problems arose. eBay suspended my account, customers returned products, sales started to slow down, and eventually the woman in the red dress came walking by again. Don't get me wrong, I learned a lot from that experience, but I could have avoided that whole spiral if I just followed the first rule, which is to be careful what content you consume. There's a lot of helpful content out there, but if you're not careful, it can actually be more harmful than helpful because it distracts you from the main thing. Once I realized how destructive it was to jump from idea to idea, I got a little smarter and limited myself to social media, but I was still doing too much. I have a distinct memory of myself sitting at a desk in my childhood bedroom, trying to keep up with the 10 different Instagram pages I was running on top of my summer internship. And I could just feel the weight of everything pressing down on me, ready to crush me at any time. It's not like none of my pages were growing. Each of them had a few thousand followers each. But it was difficult to consistently deliver excellent content on all of them because I was spread so thin. And as a result, I was not seeing the progress I wanted. So I started cutting back. I looked at my accounts, picked the one I thought had the most potential, and put all of my focus into that one. And what do you know? Once I did that, it finally took off. This was a Victor Wembanyama fan page that I grew to over 60,000 followers and earned a few $1,000s from, which was more money and more followers than I had generated on all of my other accounts combined. So the second rule is to focus on one project at a time. However, as this account grew, I started thinking how awesome it would be to expand my audience to other platforms. I had experience with Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok before, so it's not like I was learning these platforms all from scratch, but as I started to expand, I felt myself getting spread thin again, so I stopped myself. Eventually, it's smart to expand to other platforms, but the mistake I made was expanding to 3 at once. And not only that, these were 3 very different platforms. If you compare TikTok to Twitter, those platforms require completely separate strategies because one is based on text and the other is based on video. If I did things over again, I would have only expanded to TikTok because that was most similar to what I was already doing. I mean, I was already posting Reels on Instagram, so it would be super easy to just repurpose those and upload them to TikTok, or vice versa. If I created a TikTok, I could just upload that to Instagram. So the third way I resist shiny object syndrome is with the one platform rule. I pick one platform and only post there until I've mastered it. Then, when I want to expand to another platform, I pick one platform that is most similar to the one I've already mastered and start building an audience there as well. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned that I've gained over 200,000 followers. If you were to put those followers on a pie chart, there would be 54 slices on the chart. That's right. I have started at least 54 different accounts, but 60% of those followers come from just 2 accounts. So that shows you the power of following these 3 rules. But even then, if I was to go back, I would not have started the Messi account that makes up 30% of this total because it took away my focus from the main thing, being the Wemby page. So you can see that even after I understood how destructive shiny object syndrome is, I still struggled with it. And as Alex said, the bigger you get, the worse it will be. All right, so now you know how to explode your following. But there's not much point in doing that if you don't know how to turn your followers into cash. You can learn how to do that by watching this video where I'll share 10 brutally honest truths that I've learned from 11 years of online business.